Haters, ¿cómo están? Espero que se encuentren de maravilla. En esta ocasión tenemos el placer de presentarles una nueva sección de conversaciones desde el inframundo y con nosotros en esta bonita noche tenemos a Leila Abdul-Rauf, una multiinstrumentalista que ha estado ya en muchísimos proyectos, una mujer muy talentosa y quien recientemente acaba de lanzar su más nuevo álbum titulado Calls from A Seething Edge, que salió el 11 de octubre a través de la colaboración de dos sellos que son Cyclic Law y Syrup Moose. Y este es el quinto álbum de estudio que lanza como solista y tenemos la suerte de tenerla aquí con nosotros en el Hater. Leila, how are you doing? Thanks for being here for conversations from the underworld here in the Hater channel. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Great,
Happy to be
Leila.
here.
Great. And we are happy to have you here to have a little conversation about, well, your creative process, about the new album, about yourself. We here in El Hater, we like to get to know the artist behind the art and, well, just to don't let people forget that at the end of the day, we are all humans, we are all persons, we all have the capacity to create great things like you do and like you did in this new album.
Oh, thank you.
So, if you don't mind, Leila, I will start with the first question. And this question is courtesy of Jesper Kress. He's a guitarist from the melodic death metal, progressive death metal band Jotun. And the question he asked is this one. One of the characteristics of heavy music is that it never turns away from the dark side of things. So, in which way are these dark side of things important to you in order for you to get inspired?
That's an excellent question. Um, yeah, you have to be in touch with that dark side. And even though we're not talking about my metal albums per se, I am a metal musician
Yeah,
and I'm in a death metal band called Vastum
yeah,
and
death metal.
we're very in touch with our dark sides.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, in regard
yeah.
to Getsemane, it was a great album.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I think that might have been our darkest album to date. There was some pretty
Definitely.
bleak material. I mean, there's just like uh uh just these sound bites from that was an interview with a child molester and then followed by samples of um uh like a grown like a an adult that was abused by
Yeah.
a child molester. So we have like sort of the perpetrator and the survivor in the
The
same
full story.
the full story because you always have to have the full story. And that's the
Exactly.
thing about being in touch with your dark side is you get the full picture. It's you can't have dark without light, right? You
Exactly.
can't tell if something is dark without light and vice versa. So I think it's really important. And I think my new album, Calls from a Seething Edge, I think does walk that line between dark and light. There's a lot of hopelessness. There's a lot of hopelessness in the world out there right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that people can still get out of bed, and I bet a lot of them can't.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so, music is such a good outlet for these stresses, these struggles, these feelings we have to go through every time we read the news or we're experiencing ourselves, our countries are getting bombed, whatever is going on. Um, and I think we have to be in touch with that dark side to even realize any kind of hope that we can get out of it. So um, if that makes sense, you have to have the
Yeah.
dark to get through to the light. And then you go
Yeah.
back to the dark and it's just
Yeah,
endless,
it's a
you
cycle.
know. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I bet you're the same as me, but I can go a day without listening to heavy music, to very heavy stuff, and that kind of just makes my day. It makes me smile. It makes me feel good, even when I'm listening lyrics about terrible things or violent things. I mean, it's a way that I just it's like I don't drink coffee, but I listen to my heavy music, very dark and very
Hey,
heavy
yeah.
at first hour in the morning.
I'm a tea drinker myself, actually. Stopped drinking coffee a long time ago, but yeah, love it. It's like a natural energizer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, Leila, thanks a lot for your answer. The next question I got for you is this one. In many ways, I experienced this new album as if I was being part of an ancient ritual. So, what kind of spaces were you at when composing the music and writing the lyrics? And what influence did they have in your creative process?
Well, when I was writing this album, I there was like I was approaching a fork in the road. Like it was time to do something different. This is album number 5
Yeah,
out of my solo albums. And the first 4 albums, they served the purpose of being very introspective and an escape from all the dense action of the metal music world.
yeah,
And it was a way to just have space and be calm, be melancholic, have ethereal beauty, not just, dark sort of angry, not just the dark and the angry, but the dark and the beautiful and the
exactly. Yeah,
ethereal and meditative, right? Like there's a meditative quality to the first 4 records.
that's how I will put it.
Um,
Meditative.
yeah, right. And which was cool. It was like a salve from all the really heavy active bands I've been doing all these many years.
Yeah.
And and then eventually the solo project became a live thing. Like I've toured, in the US and Europe and all of that. And but because I'm more known in the metal world than in any other music world, as a solo artist, even though my solo material isn't metal, I get asked to play metal shows all the time, like all
Because
the
of it.
time, but because of it, right?
It's because
And
it's so dark and it's so, I will say, oppressive in some way.
yeah, it has some oppressive atmospheres.
Definitely.
There's something almost semi-spiritual about it too.
Yeah.
And right, like but so I'd play these shows and I would be like the quietest thing on the bill. Like, so
Yeah,
metal crowds tend to be loud. A lot of them tend to like go to shows and drink and get
of
drunk. And
course, yeah.
so I'd play all these shows and it would be like I could just hear the crowd over me the whole time when I'm playing. And it
Like,
gets
guys,
really
please.
annoying. So so I knew I wanted to do something different musically with this album, um because I'm already on album 5, but also because I want to bring this material to the live stage and I want it to really make an impact, like have rhythm, be louder and come across and have a presence, um on any kind of stage that I get asked to play
Yeah,
because I played all different kinds of venues, everything
of course.
from like, art galleries to, metal clubs, um, warehouses, bookstores, like you name it, like everything. So it's good to be adaptable and have a range of material that will fit any kind of space that you want to play, especially as a solo artist when you can just change things on the fly
Yeah.
and and it's fine. You don't have to talk to any, you don't have to consult with anyone. You just do it.
Yeah. Just I
Yeah.
just feel like it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly, and definitely in this new album, I can grasp even a more influence by industrial music sound
Oh
because,
yeah.
as you say, it's more aggressive, it's more loud, and I even can kind of compare it with the darkness and the aggressiveness that have other artists such as Luzmore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can see that. Um, for sure there's industrial. I mean, I actually in my teens I grew up listening to industrial even before I got into metal.
Okay,
So my trajectory was like goth, industrial, punk, and then metal. Like that
that
was my
feels natural.
developmental path. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it felt natural to go the industrial route because that's so I've been listening to that music for decades and it's so it inspired me. You know, my angry teens, it was what fueled me and was my survival. So
Yeah,
um
of course.
that felt really natural.
And it sounds very natural. I mean, from the start to the beginning, it's a journey, and it's a journey so enjoyable that it invites you to listen the album time and again because it's such a very good synergy that you have in there that it's very easy to listen, it's very easy to assimilate, and I mean, you can be just drinking a cup of wine, just laying on the bed, on the couch, watching the the wall, petting your cat, whatever you want, and this
Love it.
music just fits. I mean, it's just perfect for to do everything, doing the dishes, swiping, whatever you want to do, it works, and that's not easy to accomplish.
Oh wow. Thank you. That's a very high compliment. Yeah, like
Yeah,
there's
I've done
music,
all
there's
of
music,
that.
yeah. You've done all of that. Like
Yeah,
there's like different kinds of music, like there's good music to work out to, like
yeah,
in the
exactly.
morning, I hop on, doing weights or going on my treadmill or whatever. There's perfect music for that. Like sort of like, a lot of tempo death metal, that kind of thing. And then there's music that's good for cooking and music that's
Exactly.
good for being quiet and meditative and all of that. I think you're onto something because making this album, it sort of encapsulates all these moods and they're all a part of me. And
Exactly.
I don't, I don't feel like an album is done unless I can listen to it over and over again and not be tired of it and not feel like there's something missing.
Yeah.
So I think that's connected to what you were saying.
Oh, and that's great because, yeah, if an album, you can listen to an album several times without getting tired of it. It means that it's something. There's something there that is special, and it definitely needs to be shared. It needs to be talked about because that's the way that legends are born, and that's the way that an album becomes kind of a cult album, for just
Yeah,
to say that. And
cult
definitely,
classic.
yeah, exactly. And you have something here that definitely checks all the boxes.
Thank you.
Now you're welcome. My next question I got for you is this one. So, what was your first encounter with heavy and dark music, and what captivated you about it?
Right. So I tapped into this a little bit before. I think all the goth and industrial stuff and
Mm-hmm.
noise um, from my early teens was my uh, like path to heavy music. I mean, I when I was a kid, like in the 80s, like Headbangers Ball was on, and that was cool,
Okay.
but it wasn't like, I didn't start like buying records till I was like 13, 14,
Mhm.
and but I was buying some weird stuff like Throbbing Gristle, Einstürzen Neubauten,
Yeah,
Skinny
definitely.
Puppy,
Strange things.
um Ministry, like all the early and middle era Ministry and Godflesh. So like Godflesh I think was like my gateway to like the ear split not the ear split, earache. I'm sorry, ear split PR is
Yeah,
the person
yeah,
that connected us.
exactly.
Earache Records was my segue into metal, and I discovered Carcass and Cathedral and bands like that.
Yeah,
So, and then I got into the classic metal stuff uh, after that. But now we're already in the mid 90s, and I was buying tapes and trading tapes and that kind of thing. And that's when I started playing in bands. And they were more of like the post-hardcore type bands. I was in a punk band in high school, but yeah, from there on, like, I think what made me want to play metal was I wanted to just get better at the guitar, and I felt
mm,
like if I knew more metal musicians, it would force me to get better at playing guitar, because
yeah,
all
good
the punk
thinking.
musicians I knew at the time, they were okay, but they were pretty sloppy. They
Yeah, it's
like,
more about the
yeah,
the fury and about the energy of the playing on
which
stage.
is
And
cool.
yeah, of
And I
course,
love that energy, and
it's
bands
the
do that really
sense, it's
well.
the essence
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
punk.
Right. But I'm like, you know what? I want to learn how to solo. I want to like do all the tricks. So that's what got me on that path. And I mean, here I am. I didn't go as far down as I thought I would, but to a point, I guess. Yeah.
Pretty good, actually.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Leila. The next question I got for you is again more related to your latest album called From A Seething Edge. The question is this one. When the time comes to choose uh, a partner, a label, when you can release new music, what are the main factors that influence the decision you make? I mean, obviously, economics is a big part of it because obviously every artist needs money to release a material. But aside of that, what are the main factors that influence your decision to work with a label or another?
Well, this is a very complicated question because it depends on the project, right? Um, and different bands and different projects have different needs.
Yeah.
So maybe one common need is international distribution, right?
Mm,
So some labels are have a wider reach than others.
of course.
Um, but and I'm included in this, we don't have our pick of labels. We kind of just have to work with who we can get sometimes. And it's the
Yeah.
timing. Like sometimes like there would be a label I'd want to work with, but they're like, well, we can't put anything out until like 2 years from now or something like that. And like 2 years from now is like, well, I don't know how many more albums I'm going to write between now and then.
Yeah.
And this and would I even want to release this album that I'm trying to get out in 2 years? Like it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, of course.
So it just depends. Like sometimes you just have to work with who's willing to work with you, and it's not always an ideal situation. I've been down that road many times with a bunch of labels, and you just take what you can get. I think what's more important than the label is who your PR team is,
Oh,
because they're the ones that are gonna get you press and interviews, make sure your albums get reviewed by music sites, and some labels have better PR teams than others.
of
So
course.
that's a big factor because like that's really what you need with a label is the PR, because anyone could just put out their album on Spotify or whatever, like
Yeah.
without a label.
But you
So
need to get
why
to the
even have a
target.
label? Right. So PR is probably the biggest factor. If you can put out an album independently and you have a good PR person and good distribution, that's all you really need. Like however you get there, uh, is how you get there. But those are the key things,
Of
and they can be
course.
different. Yeah.
Great.
So. Yeah.
Understood. Thanks a lot for the answer, Leila. And the next question I got for you is this one. Uh, this album is, besides heavy and dark, it kind of has a deep sense of spirituality on it, and uh, the feelings that it brings to mind and the sensations that it brings to mind every time I listen to it is like a sense of danger and a sense of being observed by I don't know what, I don't know who. And these feelings manifest very heavily on the first and the last song of the album, which is Summon and the Summoned. Tell me, did you plan to make these two songs kind of gateways in and out of the album? Because definitely those songs works like that.
Yeah, I wanted those to be the bookends of the album. I think when I started writing Summon, the first track pretty early on in before most of the rest of the songs.
Yeah,
Um, but as I kept working on the album, each track just started to seem so different from the other that it started to feel uh like all the songs were too separate from each other, and it there wasn't anything really tying it together. And I that's a really important part of making an album for me is the whole listening experience should be a journey. It shouldn't like I don't like when the tracks just feel like a bunch of songs thrown together. It's
yeah,
like
disconnected.
they get disconnect, right? So having the summoned as a bit of a reprise of the first song was a way to make the album feel like a whole piece.
Yeah,
And yeah, and so I love what you said about you being observed by something, whether it's some spirit or some, higher being, if you believe in a higher being.
yeah. It reminded me
Um,
of the cover from uh, Witch Bell album. It reminded me a very cool cover. It's kind of a creature who holds a kind of a gateway, and but
uh-huh.
it's so big that you don't notice that it's there because it's so big. So it reminded me of that image the first time I heard those songs.
Ah, I love that. That's really cool. Yeah, I knew I wanted like I knew what the song was about, and it was just sort of like teetering on the edge of the concrete and the spirit world,
Yeah,
right? And the edge I envisioned like the edge of a knife blade, right? Like because it's something that's paint that will cut you if
yeah,
you walk on it. So people tend to fall more on one side than the other, but what if we were to just stay on that blade and realize that there's both, and we're constantly living with the concrete and the spiritual every day. So that was the catalyst for the concept. And the music, I knew I wanted like just a big vocal part, like really
hmm,
the vocals to be the tantamount thing of the song. And so there's this big drone layer where it's just a static note, but then the vocals are like doing this part almost like a cappella.
yeah,
And and I thought that was like the call, right? Like um that vocal section is, you strip everything away, so you just focus on that vocal.
yeah. And those
And
vocals definitely
yeah.
do the summoning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and then the summoned, I wanted it to harken back to the first track, but not just that. It has bits of pieces of the themes from every single song on the album, almost all of them. At in the
Oh,
last like 20 to 25 seconds, you'll hear the little themes. There, the horn part from Crimes of the Soul, the guitar solo from Summon, the the choir parts on Failure to Fire. I just blend all of that. The dulcimer
Yeah,
part on Mukhalafet,
I didn't
and it's
catch
just they're
that.
all right. So that was intentional because it was like, well, I want to bring back all these themes
It's a
to
dark
the
echo.
for the it is. It's like your last moment, your last breathing moments, life flashing before your
Yeah.
eyes before the end. Yeah, so
Oh,
that was the point
great.
of that one.
Great concept.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely have to listen again to the album and having in mind this information because I'm pretty sure it will enhance my experience with it.
awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Leila. And last question I got for you is, first of all, uh, are you a drinker?
Like alcoholic drinker?
Yeah.
Occasionally. I'm a pretty light drinker these days. I've been, trying to get into good physical shape, and
Okay.
that's part of my being healthy. But yeah, occasionally I will have a drink.
What do you prefer? Vodka, tequila, whiskey? What's your favorite beverage?
Well, I'm not a beer drinker, so that's out.
Oh,
But I do like the spirits. I mean, I like
mm,
vodka and whiskey are really up there for me if I'm gonna have like a sip of something strong.
oh, great. Right, that's just
Yeah.
to put some flavor on the interview. Too many dark things have been talked about. We need some some other
Yeah.
things. Uh, Leila, those are all the questions I got for you. Thanks a lot for answering them. I mean, your answers are very interesting. Definitely will help people to get to understand and cling to the music that you have created for this new album in an easier manner. And if you don't mind, please help me with the question for my next guest. As I said, it can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be about music. I don't know who will be my next guest, but you can ask whatever you want.
All right. And we're still recording, right?
Of course.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So everyone's gonna see what I'm gonna ask. Cool.
Exactly.
I think a good question would be what is your most memorable moment on stage? It could be the most embarrassing moment you ever had where something went wrong. It could be the most just insane, exciting, ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
But what is that moment, and where were you, and what's the whole story behind it?
Oh, great question. I'm pretty sure the answer will be very interesting. Good question. Thanks a lot, Leila. And that's all from my part. Please, if you have anything to say to the haters here in the hater chat, please do.
Ah, thank you, El Hader. I hope to visit your lovely city someday. I've never
Yeah,
been, and I think about it a lot. So, one of these days.
you will be mostly welcome, and I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it. I mean, here Mexico City, it's a very rich city regarding culture, regarding everything you like. And here we like heavy
Sure.
music. We are not as much as we like, but the few we are heavy as fuck.
Awesome.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Leila. Y haters, eso es lo que tenemos en esta conversación con Leila Abdul-Rauf. Y no se pierdan, ya está a la venta su más reciente álbum de estudio Calls From A Seething Edge. Es un gran trabajo, muy oscuro, muy pesado, se lo recomiendo totalmente. Nos estamos viendo en el siguiente video, haters, por favor, cuídense mucho. Hasta luego. Hasta luego, Leila. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.